This is Very Bold Radio and Podcast with your host, Steve Teel, bringing encouragement through God's Word and through inspiring interviews. Go to verybold.com for information and updates, and email steve@verybold.com. And now here's your host, Steve Teel.
Steve Teel, Very Bold Radio and Podcast. I am very excited today because I love talking to difference makers, making a difference in this world, bringing light to a dark world. Trey Williams, my friend, he's executive director of Ancora Ministries, does incredible things, not just in Central Texas, but also in Guatemala. And I am just excited to share him with you. So Trey, first of all, how are you doing? Welcome to Very Bold Radio and Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. What an honor to be invited to come and chat with you. And I'm doing great.
Well, good. Man, I'm so glad that you had an adventure getting here today.
Me too.
So, technology or me, maybe I gave you the wrong address. Do we have it figured out how technology decided to send you to downtown San Antonio in the Alamo Dome?
We don't. You sent me the right address.
I did?
So,
okay.
It had me go off toward the Alamo Dome and do a U-turn, and I was looking and could not find anything that looked like the picture of this building that you sent me, and then it had me back on the interstate going back toward Austin. So it was just, I called you in desperation, and you rescued me, and we, had to drive through a funeral procession on 281 at 38 miles per hour.
Yes.
We had kind of some ethical dilemmas we had to work through in real time.
Yeah. What do you do in 3 lanes of highway and there's a funeral procession? We won't get into that now. I don't want to hear, where you can cut in or not cut in or what the rules are, but
we'll just assume that I did it exactly right.
You did it exactly right. I'm sure. What would Jesus do? You did it just right, Trey. Well, I think I want to hear all about Ancora Ministries. It's unbelievable to me that even though you've been missions involved forever, but you started Ancora Ministries. You would think from all that you've accomplished, you would think, oh, he must have been doing this for 20 years, 25 years. This is since, say, when you actually started.
The middle of a global pandemic, July 2020, because who wouldn't start something absolutely brand new in the middle of that, right?
Yeah. You know who that sounds like, though? I mean, that sounds like God.
That is exactly who would do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the only one. So I love that, life sometimes is messy and God's plans can be kind of messy. When you felt like God was saying, and how did you feel like God was saying, like, hey, this might be the thing to do, the time to do? What was that like for you, Trey?
Well, it was a process, right?
Okay.
Because and the process started back when I was a executive and missions pastor at a church in Hays County.
Okay.
And so that began, part of one of the hats I wore was the community outreach hat. So when people needed help, when the school district would call me. And that began to, I think, expand my view of what was happening in our community.
Okay.
And then when our church began to work in Guatemala, and the funny part is our senior pastor, he was like, "We're going to start working in Guatemala," and I was so mad about it.
You were so mad about it?
I was like, "Come on, man! Like, I guess you're going to put me in charge of it, right?" Yep. I guess we're going to do a mission trip. Yep. And you want me to plan it? Yep. Even though summer is my busiest time. Yep. So I planned this mission trip and I was grumpy about the whole thing.
That's hilarious.
And I got down there and just got turned upside down.
Really?
Yeah. It was just so beautiful. And I had done mission trips when I was in high school, I was not a stranger to that, but just I was so focused on I've got too much to do. Which is funny because when I walked in this morning and you asked me how I'm doing, I was like, I feel like I'm barely breathing. So maybe God is speaking to me right now and reminding me when you think you don't want to be doing something, be ready for me to do something in your life.
I like that.
So I was working through that church, taking groups down once a year.
No, a little bit more context. Were you a children's pastor at the time also?
Yes.
So when the senior pastor says, I mean, you're doing missions on top of it, like missions for a lot of churches would be one job.
Yeah.
You were also the children's pastor.
Yep.
I just want to make sure we understand. So when you say summer is busy, you got VBS, you got all the things, camps. And And I love it. Your senior pastor just is like, here you go. So you were mad, you were grumpy.
Yep.
And you got down there. What happened when you got down there? You said your world just kind of turned upside down.
Well, I think it was two things.
Okay.
One is that I was about the only person in the group who could speak any Spanish. How
good is your Spanish?
Well, it's much better now.
Better now?
Yeah. Like now it's much better. And it was okay then. I mean, I majored in Spanish in college, so I had a fairly, decent knowledge, but it's different when you're in the fire, right?
Yeah.
And Guatemalan Spanish is quite different than the Spanish we speak here in Texas and on the border. Yeah.
Okay.
But because of that, I had I got to talk more intimately with the people we were serving, right?
Okay.
And because I was the go-between.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was just I don't know, seeing that kind of profound need up close and knowing the people that we were building a school kitchen so that we could launch a school lunch program in this community.
Okay. Now, was that a part of your vision, or was that kind of the senior pastor and you, or?
So we were partnering with another organization called Hunger Relief International.
Okay.
And so we went through Hunger Relief so these were communities where they were working. And so when they had church benefactors, the church funding kind of would execute their plans.
Okay.
And then the mission trips were bonuses because we get to see the work and participate in it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so we spent the week doing this project. But of course, when you're on a mission team, you're also, kids want to ask you questions and hang out and play soccer. And so you're building these beautiful relationships. And at the end of the week, none of us wanted to leave. I mean, we're all just boo-hooing, and the community is boo-hooing, and it was an amazing connection.
Yeah.
And so as we continued to do that, I also began to feel like the Lord was maybe going to be doing something different in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, really weird, but probably around 2016, 2017, I began to feel like maybe I wasn't going to be staying in that position at the church.
Okay.
And so I just began praying like, okay, Lord, am I supposed to leave? Am I supposed to stay? What do you want me to do? And I just felt like he was saying, just hold on. And in the fall of 2018, I took a month off and spent a lot of time just praying and thinking. And the counsel I received from a mentor of mine was, ask yourself the question, I think you should ask God, Lord, are you through with me here? So I began to incorporate that question into my prayers. Yeah. And right before I was supposed to go back to work, I felt like he said, wait, but that wait felt like you're not going to stay here long, but I'll tell you when. Okay. And a couple of months later, again, I'm praying this prayer every day. Yeah. It became very clear that it was time for me to step down. So I said, okay, Lord, well, I'm going to resign from my job. What's next? Yeah. And the answer was, well, you do that first, and then I'll tell you what's next. Oh, so my gosh. Not super comfortable.
Yeah, this is so biblical. Go to the land that I'll show you.
Oh, man. Yes.
Oh, go ahead and tell me first, and then I'll go. No.
Can we have the plan, please?
Yeah.
No, sir. Okay. Cannot have the plan.
All right. He loves the trust and the obedience.
He does. And so I did. I resigned, and so then I'm like, okay, well, what do we do now, Lord?
Yeah. Quick question.
Yes.
How did your wife feel about all this? I mean, because it's not just you, this is your wife, your family. Was she praying as well and feeling like, yeah, Trey, come on, man. It's time. She probably knew before you did.
She did. She did. And absolutely, these were decisions that were made together. And she, probably for that last year, she was like, you need to go. Okay. But I said, well, I don't feel like God is releasing me yet. And so she said, well, we're not going to move until the Lord says to move, right? Good. Yeah. So we definitely were in lockstep in that decision process.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
I call the director of Hunger Relief International when I resign, and I say, hey, just so you know, I just quit my job, but because we had a mission team going in 4 months, right? Oh, yeah. And I said, but don't worry, I've already picked out the person that's going to lead the trip. I'm going to work with her.
Oh, good. Wow.
The church's going to be fine. fine. And she said, okay, great. And I said, and by the way, I said,
here's my resume.
I said, I don't really know what I'm going to be doing for the next few months. So if you've got anything that needs to be done down in Guatemala, I might be available. And
that's what you said.
That's what I said. She calls me the next day and she says, hey, my team down there we just got a grant to install 30 safe cook stoves in the communities. We could use a hand. And she said, if you can buy your plane ticket down there, I'll cover your expenses while you're there. So I went down that May.
You don't have a job, but you're paying for your ticket down to Guatemala. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
My wife is employed. And so that helps. Right?
Still, I mean,
but yes. So I go down.
Yeah.
Same place I've been working for 6 years.
Was that an easy answer for you?
Oh,
Were you just like, oh yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so little sidebar.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I talk so much.
No,
but it's just
give us the stories. Give us the stories. We're good. Don't worry about the clock. We're good.
The sidebar is that on one of my early trips to Guatemala, I just sort of stopped one day marveling. And honestly, I think I was on the way to the ER because I had cut myself. So the whole Guatemala team, like when their precious gringos get hurt, they freak out.
Really?
So like the whole team wants to take me to the emergency room. They're like, is Pastor Trey going to bleed out on us? I mean, I had cut my hand for Pete's sake, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so during this process, I just sort of look around marveling that I'm in a pickup truck with 4 people from Guatemala that I kind of know, but not really. And I'm talking to a doctor in the ER. Like nobody in my life right now speaks English. And I'm like, Lord, I can't believe that this is my life. It's pretty awesome that I can do this.
That's great. That is not where I thought you were going with that. I love it.
And I remember thinking,
wow, that's good,
I think
Trey.
I'd like to do this. And so
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And great.
And I just thought, well, that's never going to happen. Like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So here we are in 2019. HRI says, yeah, go down, buy your plane ticket. We'll take it from there. And this project, we worked, I saw some of the communities, 2 of the communities where I had worked with the church, but we were in different communities, but the dynamics were so different because we're going inside people's houses. Like before we were doing community projects. And I'm kind of the mouthpiece for the gringos, it's group to group dynamics and it's really cool.
Yeah.
But now we're going into people's houses.
Okay.
We're saying, where do you want us to set up the stove? We set up the stove. Is this okay? Like, and after every stove, the question is, hey, you want something to drink? Come sit on the porch. Let's talk for a little bit. And in my American,
I can't wait to see the word coming out of your mouth.
I'm like,
my American.
Yeah, like in my American context, I'm thinking we got 25 other stoves to do. We got to go. Like we can't stay. But by day 2, I realized, we do need to stay. And we did stay. I was just nervous because the people I was with, they work in these communities. They're Guatemalan. They understand the cultural context.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we got 30 cook stoves to put together.
Right.
And I'm going home on Friday,
Right. Yeah.
So we, when I begin to relax into that, I get to start hearing stories from people. I got a story I'd love to share, but it is like we're about to take a big left turn.
Let's go. Let's go. So, you guys are with me. Let's go.
This is day 3.
Day 3. Okay.
The man's name is Juan, I think, and his wife Maria. And they're probably in their mid 60s.
Yeah.
And so we go in, we put their cook stove together and I'm feeling a little delicate. It's day 3. That's usually I'm like, oh, my stomach's a little,
Okay.
And then Juan says, ¿quieres una agüita? Right? You want something like agüita is water, but that's the term for something to drink. So you might be getting Pepsi or juice or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Well, so I'm like, no. And Xiomara and Julio, who I'm working with, they're like, oh yeah. So we sit on the porch and we're drinking Pepsi and Xiomara and Maria are on one side of the porch, right? And Juan and Julio and I are on the other side of the porch and we're just sort of chit chatting. And then Juan brings his phone over to me and shows me this picture of a bloody hand that is missing 2 fingers.
What?
And I go, what is this? And he shows me his hand and he's missing 2 fingers. And he goes, I shot my fingers off.
Oh my goodness.
And I go, what? And so he says, yeah, I was cleaning my pistol one day And I didn't realize it was loaded, and it went off, and it shot my fingers off. And so Julio and I are looking at each other like, okay, okay. And so then Juan pulls the pistol out of his waistband. And he says, now I'm a peace-loving man, but if somebody threatens my family, and he starts waving the pistol around, he says, I'm going to be ready for them. And Julio and I are kind of like ducking, like that thing already went off once.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and then his wife yells at him. She's like, you shot your fingers off with that thing. Why are you putting it in your pants? Which is a question that I also had, but wasn't going to ask out loud. And at that point, Julio, who was in charge of our group, he's like, I think it's time for us to go. And so we left.
Oh my gosh.
But, you don't get those kinds of interactions usually with a group, a mission group, right?
Yeah.
Like Juan, they usually don't invite Juan to those meetings.
That's funny.
So I'm sitting on the plane to go home that Friday, and I'm just praying. I'm like, Lord, this was so awesome. I got to it was just a much more intimate way to interact with people and do ministry that is far beyond, I got the t-shirt and, took the pictures with the babies, right? Like these are real people.
Yeah.
And what we did, like we would go into a house 24 hours later and the smoke was gone because of these cook stoves. And I said, Lord, there are 65 villages. I was in 4 of them this week. There are 65 villages just around this one city. And I want every kid to have enough to eat, to have clean water, to have a safe cook stove, to have a latrine to go to the bathroom in. Yeah. And what am I supposed to do with that? That is an overwhelming thing, God. And why did you bring me here? And I want this to happen. And there's no way.
Oh my gosh.
No way. So I get back.
This is awesome. Did you even give God a chance to respond? I mean, God's just like, wait, he's just letting you go.
I think he was just letting me go. I definitely put him in the, I know you're God and all, but this is, even you, right? Even you can't do this one, right? Yeah. Well, sit down, son.
Sit down.
Right? Let me show you
Hold
something.
my water. Let me turn it into wine.
That's right. So I get home and Hunger Relief says, hey, we'd love to hire you, but we don't have any money. So you have to raise your own salary.
Okay. All right.
Which I don't love that.
Most people in ministry don't.
No. But
most people.
Right. Yeah. But I was just like, I hate that idea. Like that's terrible. But I felt like the Lord kept putting little things in front of me to say, you need to do it.
Yeah.
So I did.
Okay.
And I worked with them. I started working with them officially in, that summer. Started learning how to ask people to give me money to pay my salary.
Right.
And at the same time, I had this little side project going called Hayes Hope to Go.
You already had that going on.
We started it in January of 2020. So it all kind of happened at the same time. But because I didn't have like a whole 40 hours worth of work to do with Hunger Relief, this other thing that had been percolating in my mind for a few years, my sister lives outside of Denver. And her church, we went to visit her church in Thanksgiving 2016, and they did this thing at Thanksgiving called Feed 5,000. They had their Sunday church service before Thanksgiving at a Section 8 apartment complex in Thornton, Colorado. They brought a big semi-trailer in, and after they had 2 services, and after each service, we gave food to the families who lived in this apartment complex. Yeah. And our family had gone to spend Thanksgiving with my sister. And so we're the 4 of us are just jumping in. Like I'm walking into people's apartments, we're praying. It is awesome. And afterwards, I'm talking to her pastor, who's kind of has become a friend of mine at this point. I go, man, this was so cool.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, this isn't even the coolest thing we do. And I said, well, tell me what that is.
Even the coolest thing we do. I love it.
And he starts telling me about this weekend food program. He goes, we send food home with kids who don't have enough to eat at home. And I said, somebody needs to be doing that where I live.
Yeah.
And it probably needs to be our church. And I know in my head that probably needs to be me, but where am I going to find the time to do it?
Yeah.
So when God called me out of pastoral church ministry, there was a moment where I felt like he was tapping me on the shoulder and saying, hey, have you noticed that nobody has started this weekend food program that you've been wanting somebody to start?
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah. And I just felt like he was saying, well, maybe you need to do it.
Yeah.
So, so I started calling school administrators that I knew that I'd worked with over the years, emailing them because I just needed to know where to start, you know. And I began researching, well, what would this look like? And I reached out to School Fuel in San Marcos and my sister's church. Their program is called Hope. It's Hope. Food for Hope. I began asking organizations questions, and they were so great to share with me and kind of what food do they use, what are their methods, and I began to put together a plan. And when nobody from my school district, the Hayes CISD, which I love very much, would call me back, I finally went to the administration building and asked to speak to the community relations person, who was my buddy, right? I'd worked with her for years.
Okay.
She wasn't calling me back, though. So
I had to show up.
I show up. I go, hey, I'm here to see so-and-so. And the lady at the desk is like, do you have an appointment? I go, well, no, but she's not answering my emails or my phone calls. So you just tell her Trey Williams is here, and I'm going to sit in that chair right there till she has time to come talk to me.
Wow.
This is not who I am at all.
It sounds like it's exactly who you are, Trey.
I'm, believe it or not, pretty introverted. But in that moment, I just felt like, no, like we need to get moving on this. Yeah. And so about 10 minutes later, she comes out. She's like, Trey, what are you doing? I said, well, you're not answering my phone calls and I need to talk to you. So we go and sit down and I said, listen, this is not an idea that I have for you. This is not, hey, I've got this which is why I think people weren't calling me back. Because usually that's, hey, I've got this great idea for you to do.
Yeah.
I said, here's my idea. I just need to know what school to start at and that's what I'm calling you about. And she says, well, you should start at Euland Elementary because 94% of the kids are economically disadvantaged. I said, great. Can you connect me to the principal? She's like, I'll do that, but I'll do something better. I'm going to connect you to this other person who is happens to be on the school board and runs the clothes closet. Her name is Esperanza Orozco. Okay. And she's been talking about doing the same thing. So I email Esperanza. We get together on Monday. I'm like, hey, I've got this plan. She's like, hey, I've got this vision. And we say, well, let's call it Hayes Hope to Go. And boom.
Wow.
We start at Euland Elementary with 50 kids every other week in January of 2020.
Wow.
And then the pandemic hits.
Yeah.
And all
of
a sudden I can't go to Guatemala with hunger relief.
Yeah.
We can't send food home with kids from school. And so I began concurrently, like we start delivering groceries to families all over the Hayes CISD. Esperanza and I would go to the grocery stores. Remember when you had lines and limits and you could only buy so much? So we would just go to all the grocery stores in Kyle and Buda and San Marcos, buy the limits, and then we put these grocery boxes together.
Wow.
And counselors in the school district outside of Euland Elementary began hearing about this, and they would call us and say, hey, I've got a family who, because remember, stay-at-home orders and essential workers and people were losing their jobs.
Right.
And so we began delivering to families all over the school district. And hold that thought, because now I'm going to pivot back to Guatemala. At the same time, I start sort of, I won't say I was fighting with hunger relief, but I was like, hey, thinking about these concepts. What if we do this for our families in Guatemala? What if we do that? And hunger relief, they didn't feel like they had the capacity to do that, and they didn't want to. And I understand, right? They didn't want to put their people at risk, and things are a little more delicate in Guatemala often than they are here in the United States, right? And so it was frustrating to me. And then I came to a point where I felt like God was saying, remember that prayer you prayed on that airplane last year?
Yeah.
Well, one of the projects Hunger Relief gave me was to learn more about micronutrients, which is, we think of nutrition as the vitamins and minerals in the food that we eat. But outside of those calories, there are essential vitamins and minerals that impact our brain development and our physiological development. And kids in Guatemala aren't always starving, but half of the kids in Guatemala don't get the nutrition they need to reach their maximum potential.
Yeah.
And I learned about this.
Wow.
And I was like,
interesting.
We got to do something about this.
Yeah.
And so at that moment, I realized the Lord has taught me how to raise money.
Yeah.
The Lord has taught me about nutrition, and I've learned about this product that is made in Guatemala that is like $5 per bag, which will last for a month.
Wow.
And I know people in Guatemala. I have all of the pieces in my possession to start something there.
Yeah.
We could feed 30 kids. We could do this for 30 kids in one village, and it would cost us $150 a month.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I've been asking people to pay my salary for the past year. That's hard. I can ask people to not pay my salary, but to donate money to feed kids.
Right.
And so looking at all of this, it just felt as though the Lord was saying, it's time for you to do something new, and I've got this new thing for you.
Wow.
And at that point, the smartest person I know, who is Jen Bailey Williams, my bride, said, hey, if we're going to do this, let's not just set it up for Guatemala. You're doing this stuff in Central Texas. So let's make Ancora, her idea also, she came up with the name. Let's make Ancora an umbrella to basically feed kids wherever we're at. And obviously I've lived in Central Texas since 1989. Our kids in our communities, they're our kids. They're my kids. I love them. I want what's best for them. Yeah. And I feel the same way about Guatemala because I've spent so much time there. And so it just made sense. The Lord has planted me here and there. He's given me this passion for his kids. Yeah. Let's make our organization be for these kids. And so we launched in July 2020, got our 501c3, and we were off and running. Yeah. There's a lot of words, man. Sorry.
That's great. That's what we want. That's what we want. So keep going. Keep just telling us about it. I mean,
well, so when schools went back to in person in September of 2020, all of a sudden we had like 8 schools in the Hayes CISD who were saying, "Hey, can we be a part of that backpack program?"
You went from one and then the pandemic, but the counselors knew you were feeding families. And so they hear about it and they're like, we need that help too. Right. So they come to you and Esperanza. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. And so it's Esperanza, because she's on the school board, she's got all these great contacts. Right. And so at that point I tell her, hey, we're launching Ancora. What we're going to do is we're going to fund Hayes Hope to Go. Okay. Because we had raised money early on, but we weren't a 501c3. Right. And, I had another job. She had another job. Right. So we began to, Ancora began to raise money to buy the food for Hayes Hope to Go. And that started from 8 schools. It just kept growing. Okay. And then in, I guess by 2022, we were in every school that needed the program in Hayes CISD. Wow. And then I meet your good friend and mine, Chris King, for lunch one day.
The King.
Yes, right.
Chris King.
So Chris and I,
oh my gosh,
we don't go back as far as you two do. But I walk into lunch and he goes, "Hey man, I just got a call from the Dripping Springs ISD and they need a backpack program." And I told him, I'm about to have lunch with the guy you need to talk to. So he connects me to them.
You and Chris together, man. Gosh. Look out.
Man, listen, we're getting into all kinds of trouble, he and I, these days.
I believe it. I believe it. I love it.
So I meet with the social emotional learning coordinator and the nurse coordinator for the Dripping Springs ISD. Okay. They love the concept of our program. And we come up with this other cool name called Dripping with Hope.
I love it.
And we launched in November 2022 in Dripping Springs. And so then what happened is the next school year, Chris connects me with a lady in the Austin ISD in East Austin.
Oh my gosh.
And at that point, I realized we can't
Don't take his calls. That's what you realized?
I actually realized that yesterday. But Chris, I love you. At that point, I realized we can't keep coming up with these catchy, fun names for programs if we're going to expand into other districts. So that's when we launched the Feed Kids Right Now umbrella. Okay. And we wanted it to be Feed Kids Now, but that web address was taken.
Got it.
And Feed Kids Right Now wasn't.
And it works.
Yeah. So now Hayes Hope to Go is still a thing. Okay. And Dripping with Hope is still a thing because they have such brand identity in their respective communities.
Yeah, of course.
And Esperanza still partners with me. Like she and I are running Hayes Hope to Go together. Okay. But they come under that Feed Kids Right Now umbrella. Okay. And we at this point we've gone from helping to funding all of those programs. So
Wow.
all of that funnels through our accounting.
Okay.
And then we have trucks deliver to 3 different warehouse locations where we pack. So the Hayes CISD gives us a little bit of space in their clothes closet.
Great.
And that's where we pack for Hayes Hope to Go.
Okay.
We have a location I call the Outpost in Kyle where we pack and deliver to Dripping Springs and now to Lockhart and South and Central Austin.
Wow.
And then last school year, Chris said, hey, I've got some space in my building. He's the executive director of the Baptist Community Center in East Austin. So he said, if I can provide the space and the volunteers to pack and deliver, what would you think about partnering with us to do a Feed Kids Right Now program in East Austin?
Wow.
So this is our second school year in East Austin.
Okay.
We've got 5 schools from the river all the way up to, about 35th Street.
Okay.
And so we send the food there. Chris runs that part of it. We send food to the Outpost. We send food to Hayes Hope to Go. And so between the 3 locations, we're feeding – this week we're actually going to feed more than 1,300 kids at 49 schools.
1,300 kids.
Yep. And
wow.
we've got school number 50 coming online next week, and that will probably put us over 1,400 kids a week. When you and I met, I think we were feeding like 300 kids a week. So – God has just continued to make a way for us to afford this. Like we don't want to say no to any kid.
Right. And
he has made it possible for us to say yes to every child that has come across our radar.
Yeah.
And
how's he done that? He's God. It's no big deal for him, but how do you see him at work with that?
So interestingly, Dripping with Hope was the catalyst for that.
Okay.
When we partnered with Dripping Springs, they were so excited about what we did. They began to connect us with people with resources in that community.
Wow.
And so for us, it's very important to say to people, yes, the hungry kids in Dripping Springs, and there are 200 of them, there are more than 200 of them. We're feeding 200 of them.
Yeah.
They are important, but the amount of resources available in this community exceeds the need that we're meeting right now. So before you decide to give us money, please understand that our vision is that no kid in Central Texas would be hungry. So we would rather not restrict your giving to Dripping Springs because we're going to have too much money for that.
Yeah. Okay.
And what has happened is that the people that we've partnered with, they are for God's kids.
Yeah.
Everybody wants their community served, of course,
right.
but they also understand there's something bigger going on. And from that, that kind of helped us learn how to approach and talk to potential donors outside of that. And so that has that was sort of the launching point for enabling us to get in front of other people, churches, even foundations and corporate givers to talk about our vision for hungry kids. And the thing is, like we all know that when you're hungry, your performance level drops, right? You and I are going to go eat Mexican food after this meeting, and if I don't hush soon, we're both going to be like, this guy needs to wrap it up because we got But so if you're a 7-year-old kid, and you're here on Monday morning because all you got was maybe a couple of hot dogs over the weekend, you got something, but you never got rid of that feeling of being hungry. It dominates your thoughts. It dominates everything that you do. And now we want you to come and sit still for 4 hours until your lunch hour, right? That's just, it's not going to happen. And so what we want to do is make sure that those weekend bags, they're going to get you to school Monday morning. Nobody loves Monday mornings, right? But if you are more physically ready to listen and learn, then it is going to change every important metric that we look at for students and education, right?
Everything about it, because if you're hungry, you're distracted. If you act out, it all works together. You get antsy. Obviously the joke about, it's real, about people being hangry. Just imagine then these kids that, just can't stay still, and then you're in trouble, and then you get in this vicious cycle, and you're seen as a troublemaker, and you might just be a kid that's hungry. A kid that needs some more protein and nutrition. All right. That reminds me of something I saw in one of your great newsletters, and I'll let you kind of finish the thought, but you said you sent out a year-end survey for the Feed Kids Right Now Weekend Food Security Program in Central Texas.
Yeah. And
you learned a couple of main things, and I love, of course, the quote from one of the kids. Do you remember that, or do you need to – you said 90% of the respondents said that they share their weekend food bag with someone in their household.
Yep.
So that's really important. I mean, you're not just feeding one child. You're feeding siblings. You're feeding parents. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
And then 72% of them said they needed help with food during the summer, a problem that you guys are aware of and working on, it sounds like.
Yes.
And then the last question of this survey was, how does getting your food bag help you? And you said a few of the lines, and you can read the most important one, but it gives me energy, helps me get stronger. But there was one comment that was heartbreaking and telling all at the same time. Do you remember it?
Is it the one from the mom?
It's this one right here.
Oh, yeah. One of the kids said, we don't have to be hungry all the time.
Yeah. We don't have to be hungry all the time.
I had another one from a mom
that
said, this gives the kids food so that I can eat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think.
Wow. Okay.
That really stopped me cold.
Right.
And even that 90% of kids who are sharing food, think about this.
Yeah.
Hungry kids, they're not hoarding the food for themselves. I mean, they are serving their loved ones even in the midst of their own need.
Right.
And certainly, that speaks to the kids and certainly the mom who is not eating to make sure that her kids eat.
Now I can eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, was very sobering.
That goes right to the heart, right?
Yeah.
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 Wow. Okay. All right. What else do you want to walk us through? Are there any other stories that stand out? I mean, obviously that just puts a face to it. I've got Guatemala. One of the things I read in one of your awesome newsletters, emails, was about your first trip to Guatemala, which, I mean, as in Core Ministries, excuse me, instead of all the other, quite an adventure of faith. But what else would you like to tell us about, Trey?
Well, I'd love to share that story, but can I share one final Feed Kids Right Now story?
Yeah, please.
So our ministry is twofold. The ministry to kids is to feed them, but they don't know who we are. We don't put any Ancora branding on our bags, in our bags. Yeah. We just give them food. So that is a little tricky, especially sometimes in Christian world, because we are so driven by the metrics of, are you saved? Did you raise your hand? Are you evangelizing? Yeah. And our call very clearly is, we're going to feed God's kids. Yeah. Those are his kids, and we trust him to take them on a spiritual journey that is going to get them where he wants them to be. Yeah. But our part of that is to feed them. Yeah. And so the more kind of personal part of our ministry is actually to our administrators and our counselors. They are our points of contact. Okay. So if I get a chance to meet, and I try to meet with all of my school contacts every 2 to 3 months, and because what usually happens is we're meeting about how's the program going, but the meeting almost always turns into how are you doing? Okay. And that's when I get to pray with people, and that's when I get to encourage people, and that's when they don't get to let down their guard. Right. Often. Yeah. And so that has been an unexpected blessing for me, as well as I would hope for them. Right. Yeah. But when we get a chance to be when I get a chance to be in front of kids, I think I'm always going to be a kids pastor at heart. Yeah. Yeah. And so when I get a chance to interact with them, I love it. And I try to go to career day or, go to a trunk or treat at one of the schools or anything like that. Yeah. So one of our schools in Kyle invited me to career day 2 school years ago. Oh, cool. So I show up, I'm doing the water filter, I'm doing the stuff for Feed Kids Right Now, and it's the 4th grade. And the way they do it is they park you in a classroom, and they every 20 minutes they cycle a new class through. Well, the last class of the day, I finish up, and usually there's a couple of kids who want to come up, and they ask you questions, and they're super sweet, and they're cute. And this one little boy comes up to me, and he kind of looks down, and he goes, "Hey, he says, how does somebody get to be a part of that food thing you're talking about?" Oh, and man. Of course, I know he's talking about himself, right? But I'm not going to let him know that I know. Right. And so I say, if you know somebody who needs to be a part of that, tell them to go talk to their teacher. Their teacher's going to talk to the counselor, and the counselor's going to call me, and I'm going to make sure that that kid can be a part of this program. And so he kind of looks up at me, he says, my dad left in January, and we haven't had a lot of food to eat at my house since then. So I kind of got down on eye level with him, and I said, do you want me to go to the counselor and ask her to add you today? And he said, yeah, I do. And so I said, would you be willing to give me your name so that I can give it to her? And so he tells me his name.
Yeah, wow.
I go to the counselor. I tell her what's going on. She starts she starts tearing up. She goes, she says, he's got 2 sisters at this school. And I knew they were having a hard time, but I didn't know it was this bad. Wow. And I said, well, let's add all 3 of them. Yeah. And so this was a Friday. I couldn't get them a bag that day. Yeah. But we got them in the next week. Wow. So fast forward a year. Yeah. Last May, I'm back at the same school doing career day. Again. They give me the 5th graders.
No.
So I start seeing kids. I'm like, I kind of remember that kid from last year. Right. And, we remember you. Did you bring the water filter? Da, 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 da. Yeah. Well, 4th group in, I see this boy walk in.
Wow.
And I'm watching him through the whole presentation because I want to see his body language. You know, I can tell you all of the things that I think are great about this program, but that kid's body language is going to tell me if what I'm telling you is baloney or not.
True.
Right? So as I'm watching him, he's kind of nodding along. Like I can see by his body language, he is like what this guy's saying is tracking with him.
Praise God. Wow.
So after I finish, a couple of kids come up, you thank me for coming. He's at the end of the line. So he comes up to me, he looks up, he goes, you remember me from last year? I go, yeah, I remember you. And he just goes, thanks for doing this. And he walks out.
Dang, man.
And
so powerful. Wow.
You know, I went home and I told Jennifer about that. And like, I just couldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud. Like 1,300 kids is a lot of kids.
Yeah, it is. But it's so many.
But it's important because they're that kid.
Right.
They all have a story and it matters. And it's not just, look at these great numbers. No, those are 1,300 individual kids who are loved and important and whose life has a plan and it matters.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Dang. Okay. I don't want to miss out on another story. If you got another story, do you have another story that comes to your mind about Feed Kids Right Now or Guatemala or just something to close us with?
I think,
I mean, that was kind of a mic drop sort of moment. I get it.
Well, I think it is important to kind of to tie this back to Guatemala because it's really the same thing. The difference is that in Guatemala, there are no social systems in place to catch anybody.
Okay.
You either have or you don't have.
Okay.
And so as broken as our social systems are here in the United States, we still have something. And we have organizations, and Cora is one of them, but there are so many organizations doing incredibly wonderful things for the most vulnerable among us in the United States. That is not the case in Guatemala. But those kids, they are just as important. They are just as precious. And you know, when we talk about malnutrition, we're talking about your brain never reaches its full potential. And that's not just height and weight. That means you don't want to go to school. It means you don't have the capacity to learn everything that you could have possibly learned. You don't have the energy and the strength and stamina to maybe work an 8-hour hard labor job all day because you just physiologically are not capable. And when you think about that being the case for generations and generations, you're now looking at full communities that have very little hope for anything other than subsistence.
Right.
And so this is the last story I want to share with you is that in our preschool nutrition program, we run it for kids from ages 6 months to 7 years because we want them to have that for that long.
Yeah.
And we do a monthly weigh and measure day because we want to track their physical progress.
Oh my goodness.
Every month. And part of that, the weigh and measure day is we're asking mom, like, hey, was your child sick this month? How many days? Did they miss school? Is there anything going on? That gives us community trends. Like if it's, the rainy season and everybody's got parasites, we know we need to do an anti-parasite treatment.
Wow.
But also, the things that we hear from moms are, he didn't used to want to eat and now he wants to eat. And so we begin to see behavioral differences that go along with the physiological changes.
Yeah.
And so the first village that we launched the program in was called a village called El Sauce. We still work there. And there was a little girl in El Sauce that I met in January 2021 when we did our first assessment.
Yeah.
And she was almost 3.5 years old. Her name was Michelle. And Michelle, 3.5 years old, weighed 18 pounds. My son, Nick, weighed 10.5 pounds on the day he was born. And she was 3.5 years old.
Yeah.
So we get Michelle in the program. And Michelle, she's quiet. She never talks. She's tiny, very, non-engaged.
Yeah.
And so we begin her in the preschool nutrition program. We begin to see her weight going up.
Wow.
And so within 6 months, she is she's healthy. Like physically,
oh my gosh,
she is within a healthy range of weight.
Yeah.
But every time I go back, she clings to her mom. She doesn't play with the other kids. She's, very much, just a quiet, reserved kid. October of 2022, a little more than a year and a half after we started in that program. And it was like maybe my 5th or 6th trip back into El Sauce since I met her in January of 2021. I walk into the village and here comes Michelle running out of the school yelling, Pastor Trey, Pastor Trey.
Wow.
She gives me this big hug.
Wow.
And then she grabs me by the hand and she drags me all over that village for the next 2 days. Wow. Come watch me dance. Come play with me. Do that.
What?
And she's like, just won't stop chattering. She's a completely different child.
Yeah.
And she is what you want a 5-year-old to be, like, right? And that, I've heard the stories, I've read the accounts. That was the first time that my eyes saw what proper nutrition will do for a child. And it's the difference between surviving and thriving. And so I am so sold on making this available for every single child. Half the kids in Guatemala under age 5 are malnourished. In the communities where we work, half. Where we work, that number is closer to 75% when we start the program. Okay. And within 12 months, that number is often 0, but it is always less than 5%. So we have seen the results. And the reason it matters is because I think about what is our world missed out on because of the millions of kids who never got to be everything they were created to be. And now Michelle, even like when Michelle becomes a mom in 15 years or so, like we've seen where she came from, but her kids are going to start at such a different level than Michelle started. Right. And where are they going to go? And what about their kids? So generationally, like we've seen generations of malnutrition impact these communities. Right. But what can generations of nutrition do for these same communities? And I get wound up about what that could mean for Michelle's kids and her grandkids.
Man, I love that. How did God put that on your heart? How did he make that connection of just the positive impact? I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think I heard Andy Stanley say one time that his dad used to tell him, God has a plan for your life and you don't want to miss it. Yeah. And in my kids' pastor days, I would tell my kids that at least once a month. Yeah. And so I think that, it kind of turned the question in my mind, like God can do anything, but if we don't have everything that we need to be everything he created us to be, can we fulfill that plan he has in our life? And so I really do believe that he has called Ancora and me personally to do everything that we can to make sure that the kids that he puts in our path have the things that we can provide them so that they don't miss that plan that he has for their life.
That's incredible. All right. I'm going to put you on the spot because we got a few more minutes. We got a few extra minutes.
Okay. Uh-oh.
So not put you on the spot. I'm just saying like, man, that would have been a perfect time just to say, hey, be very bold. Like Trey is being very bold, but we got a few extra minutes. So I'm going to ask you if you got another story or if you want to tell people how they can be involved. Maybe somebody is sitting there watching and, I mean, just thinking, yeah, how can we be a part of this or anything that God has on your heart? But we got a few more minutes. So if you got other stories, I love your stories. If you want to just share whatever God has, what do you got for us?
Yeah, well,
that's wide open, man. That's putting you, on spotlight on you. Not hard at all. You got this.
All right. Well, okay. Like, which camera do I need to look into for my
let's
appeal?
Let's just go Facebook, and Mark will take care of the rest. So yeah, you can look over there.
There is never enough funding to do everything that we've been called to do. Well, let me rephrase that. God always provides everything that we need, but that need continues to grow. And $5 will feed a kid. $5 will feed a kid for a weekend. $5 will provide a month worth of nutrition for a kid in Guatemala. You can afford it. So my first bold ask is for you to look us up, ancoraministries.org, and become a financial supporter of us. We've got a program called Project Zero, which is a monthly donation program. $20 a month will provide weekend backpack bags for a child for a month. So that's one way.
That's great. Yeah, go on.
And the other is I would just say reach out to me. Like I would love, if you're in Central Texas and want to come see the outpost, see what we do, get your hands on it. We want to show you because we want kids to understand that they're not just, afterthoughts. And so the food that we use in our programs, actually, it's name brand food. It's Kraft macaroni and cheese. It's General Mills cereal. It's Quaker chewy granola bars. And the reason for that is because I buy H-E-B brand all the time. And I love it. And H-E-B is awesome. Mm-hmm. But these are kids that they get hand-me-down clothes. They get the rejects when people clean out their pantries and go to the food bank. They have lived a life of you are an afterthought. And so when they open their bag every weekend, we want them to understand, no. You are worth Kraft. You're worth Nutri-Grain. You are worth name brands because we believe that investment in their self-esteem week after week is something that communicates their worth to them. And I had a counselor, actually, probably this is a good place to wrap up.
Okay.
Had a counselor tell me one time, she said, I had a 5th grade girl that had just started the program. She opened her bag and burst into tears and said, we don't get Nutri-Grain at my house. And just think about things that many of us take for granted.
Right.
And these kids are like, somebody sees me. When we talk about poverty and vulnerable communities, the thing that is more insidious than being hungry is being invisible. And we want kids to know that we see them, but more importantly, that God sees them.
Yeah. That's good, man. That is amazing. All right. That is Trey Williams with Ancora Ministries. Man, talk about being very bold, and I won't go into the long backstory, but how God started Peanut Butter Bowl was me finding out about a ministry in San Antonio that does exactly what Trey and Feed Kids right now is doing, Snack Pack for Kids San Antonio.
They are
When
awesome.
I saw this peanut butter, they are awesome. When I saw this peanut butter, God just gave me the idea. And that's what we're about, is being a part of great organizations, great coaches, great leaders, but also great leaders in these hunger relief organizations like Trey and Michelle at Snack Pack for Kids San Antonio, and all the amazing groups that we get to work with. Is, remembering these kids and remembering these families that are impacted dramatically, and we get to do a small part. He's doing it 378 days of the year, and we get to do it for a part of a season, and it's a real blessing. So Trey Williams, Ancora Ministries, he is definitely being very bold. And I love it. I just love it, man. I just wonder what your purpose is. And maybe part of your purpose is being a part of Ancora Ministries and knowing that you're feeding kids in Guatemala or feeding kids in your community, whatever that looks like. Maybe there's something else that God is birthing, like starting to put in your heart a vision, something that is for you, just like he did with Trey. I'm excited for whatever it is, but I just invite you to say, here I am, Lord. What do you have for me? Here I am. Put me in, Coach. Here I am.
Amen.
Send me. What do you have for me? And listen. Just listen. And maybe he's going to make it real clear. Just something very simple today. So I invite you to listen. For now, we're going to close it down. And I will remind you that we are Very Bold Ministries. So that's the ministry over Peanut Butter Bowl and over all the things that we get to do, including the radio and podcast. And one day I was just reading the scripture and just those two words, very bold, just popped off. 2 Corinthians 3:12, there it was. And that's what we want to be. I'm telling you, Trey is doing that. And we invite you to be very bold too. The reason we can be very bold is because we have to remember, no matter what's going on in life, the ups, the downs, the valleys, the mountains, the hills, all of it, the wilderness, and when you're eating well and eating Tex-Mex or anything, God is still good, and he still loves you, and he still loves these kids in Guatemala, and he still loves the person, the neighbor or the coworker that kind of annoys you or does this or that. God loves them and is for them. And you get to bring light into whatever that darkness or whatever that invisibility is, to remind somebody they are seen, they are known, whatever that looks like. And it all starts because Jesus sees you, and he came for you, and he died on the cross for you. And he wants you to have this abundant life of purpose and fulfillment and that kind of excitement of Trey of like, man, this is awesome. I want to do this. I want you to find that. And you find it with Jesus. So remember what Jesus has done for you. He put his Holy Spirit in you, interceding on your behalf right now, interceding on your behalf, and encouraging you and inviting you to do what God asked you to do. So the Apostle Paul, he said it a little bit better than me, Trey. In 2 Corinthians 3:12, he said this, therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold.
Very Bold Radio and Podcast with your host, Steve Teel, bringing encouragement through God's Word and through inspiring interviews. Go to verybold.com for information and updates, and email steve@verybold.com.